like that, not associated similar to this case. She was a little older, she loved Disney, and she had a different situation going on.
Yeah.
And she worked in the shop, she was super smart, she could bake, she could cook,
Yeah, and
she could do all the normal things. She just liked to sit and watch Disney.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is that most kids of that age, I say kids, this I think was around when she was 17 or 18. So she's a teenager, and I get some teenagers have quite a high active lifestyle and social life. But, at the same time, you've still got that, I want to be a child and have fun and the Disney and the magic.
It seems to me that she tried to get a social life, but that she was kind of on the fringes because there was something a little different about her.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't interact in the same way, but when she was 14 or around 14, the Fletchers, the doting parents, took her out of school and began to homeschool her.
So, yeah, from the 9th grade, and from what we've read, it seems that they took her out because she was diagnosed with autism around this time. Maybe they thought that she'd have better education that way. Maybe the schools there preferred her to be homeschooled rather than in an educational setting.
Not sure. I know that when I worked at a trampoline park, we had classes for SEND, special educational needs, and a lot of the guys that came in were autistic, and that spectrum is absolutely vast.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We know several people with autism.
Yeah.
And they're on very different levels.
I watched people who couldn't have sounds and saw people who would lash out at their carers physically. One who just smacked his carer straight in the side of the head, and 99% of them were super smart, absolutely fine in most situations, just had a couple of quirks here or there. And one of the lads that came in, he was always not in a group, he was always sort of on his own with a parent, and he came in, he could speak 2 languages, he was talking to me about Latin. This guy was super boom up there.
They do say that goes hand in hand, don't they, with autism, that, a lot of people with autism are very smart and very clever, just like how that neighbour, Robert Blade, described her as smart as hell.
Yeah, and he blew me away because he knows stuff now as a child I don't know as an adult. And I can understand how if you're the same age as this child and you're into, I don't know, Lego, stickle bricks, or whatever it is you're playing with, or you've got cars and remote control stuff, and this lad's talking Latin, then you know what kids are like. They are going to be pushed aside to a degree, which is unfair, really, considering what their capabilities are.
Definitely.
A neighbour said at 17 she was more into Disney movies and country music. She invited us over to watch Disney, but it didn't interest me because I ride motorcycles. One of Lacey's friends told the media, "I remember her as a sweet, kind person. She was my first friend at the school there. She was thoughtful and sweet. Just sweet is the word I keep coming back to. One of the sweetest people you could ever meet. So very kind." She also said Lacey could be quiet, but could also be vocal with her opinions. It's rumoured that she had 3 years of therapy for anxiety in her teens. What do you make from that, considering what you know of later on?
What I make so far from that is that she is an average teenage girl who's learning to probably like herself in the sense of being a bit more confident and wants to kind of put herself out there more, but is a bit more drawn back because she's not gained that confidence yet. And autism doesn't help with that. It takes a bit longer and maybe a bit more assistance and a bit more help. And I'm not sure...
I don't know enough about autism to be able to get into the head of somebody with autism, so I can speculate that this guy's into motorbikes, it's too noisy to be around, it's not her type of thing, and even if you're not autistic, that can be, so it's just different interests, but I can't get into that sort of mindset because it'd be wrong for me to
I mean,
to pick it
being
up.
awkward in social situations
Oh God, we know somebody who's like
can
that.
be.
We know somebody who's
We know
100% like that.
several people like that,
Well, and
apart
they're
from
not.
yourself, and you're
Yeah,
not autistic.
yeah. Walked into that one, didn't I?
But you know, in that sense
You
of
know who I'm thinking about, though. That's the funniest thing. In a
depends.
group,
We
this
can't
guy
say.
is. Oh no, we can't. We'll call him for Ed because it sounds very much like his name, and he will know we're talking about him as well. Bless him. And he's a enormous fella. He's absolutely huge. He's a jolly guy.
A gentle giant, I believe,
A
is
gentle giant, wobbly
very
wanderer.
sweet.
He's a very, very brilliant big bloke.
Very sweet, very kind,
Oh my
very
God,
thoughtful.
yeah.
You know, just how as you described this
Oh,
teenage girl.
yeah, and he is.
Um,
Oh God, now you've personalised it. That's not
but that's
nice.
just it.
But
With cases like this
sorry.
is a case
For
of
the benefit of the audio,
just whacked me with a hand.
I did not whack you with my hand. I caught you with my fingernail. No, it's not like that. I promise. So yeah, we didn't
But
go
I
off
mean,
track.
in the sense of it being personalised, you've got to remember this is a person. This horrible crime scene happened.
And Fred, I've got to go back to Fred, right?
You're going to come back to Fred in a minute, and I'm going to be like, who's Fred?
Big ginger bloke we were talking about and not describing in the
Just
slightest.
describe him.
He knows who he is and he won't even mind. The thing is, it is that situation where he knows one-to-one he can be a little bit quirky sometimes. Yeah. And he is a lovely bloke and I think the world of him.
He's much better in a group situation rather than one-to-one or just two of you or three of you.
In a group, he is the funniest person in the building.
In a group, you really wouldn't know.
Is. No.
He just fits in and slides in with the rest. So in the sense of awkward in social situations, for him it's a bit more awkward on one-to-one level.
Yeah. And I can't imagine him or anybody going through what this girl went through. So, okay, so back to the case.
So apparently it is said that Lacey's parents went to the doctors without her in 2010. So she would have been at about 25 years old at the time. And they went to ask his advice on what to do, as they said she is increasingly not wanting to go out of the house and not wanting to leave the sofa. She's just a total recluse. Now, it is said that the doctors urged the Fletchers to bring Lacey to the hospital, but they never did, and she never received any treatment.
So this is the parents going to the doctors and saying, hey, my daughter isn't well, she's suffering with, let's be honest, that sounds like something we know about. That sounds like agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Well, so in that situation, what's this girl going through? If it's legit, if it's accurate, and if these parents have gone to the doctor and said blah, 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 what's she experiencing at this point? Can you tell me?
Well, obviously in the sense of it being agoraphobia, and just pointing out here, we are in the UK here, and it may be run a little differently over in America, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe their fees are absolutely extortionate for anything medical.
Within the sense of the Fletchers taking her to the hospital, if doctors thought she was suffering from some sort of anxiety or agoraphobia, then here in the UK we have people that can come out to your home and see you, whether that be a doctor,
it's a good point.
A psychologist. It's very different here.
What we do
and I'm not sure of how it works there medically.
What we do know is these guys have got a lot of money, so let's be honest, that's probably
I'm pretty sure they could have paid
private. We would call it private.
Yeah, we'd call it private here. We're very lucky with our medical treatment here. We get that for free. We're very, very lucky.
Well, we pay for it in a different way, but we
pay for it in a different way. But in the sense of us calling a doctor and needing to see them and medication, or needing to talk to someone as in a therapist, we do have a waiting list here. We can see a therapist on what is our NHS.
So, what's she going through? Can she get there? Forgetting whether the doctor will come out or not, there's a good chance they should be able to, but won't. The parents probably could do something, but on a personal level, agoraphobia, can she herself get off the sofa and go to the doctors? If not, why not?
100%.
Yeah, you're funny. 100%.
100% not.
Okay, 100% not.
From my own personal experiences.
Okay, I wasn't going to say that. But
I didn't want to go near the front door.
Okay.
I was even scared to hear the front door go and what was waiting on the other side of it.
Okay.
It was a long time ago, and that is something I'm, very fortunate that in part I did get help with, and in part it's something I worked on by myself because I could see what was happening. Some people in that situation cannot see what's happening.
Yeah.
You don't know that you are not going out of the house, and it's suddenly been 1 week, 2 weeks, it's been a few months now, and nobody's around to help.
So you're aware that there's a problem, maybe, but not
so-
necessarily what the problem is?
Yeah, because, I mean, you've got to remember, they're shown an appearance by going to the doctors without her. Well, here we also have a phone consultation.
Yeah.
There's no problem with us here in the UK saying, hey, my daughter, she's 25 years old at this point. She needs to speak to a doctor on the phone. She needs to speak to a therapist, you know, whoever that may be.
And let's remember, we have this young girl that said, I went to school with her, she was very vocal in some ways, not very vocal in others, and at this point, we know she's capable of speaking.
And at this point, as a parent, you do what you can for your child. So I think it takes more than just going to the doctors and saying, hey, she doesn't want to come out of the house, and then being urged to take her to the doctors and them going, oh, well, never mind, we'll just forget about that.
Knowing what I know about the case already, there's no think about it.
You know,
it's regards to your kids. I felt bad because we'd not replaced a tooth.
I know.
Can you
something
imagine what I would put
minimal
myself
as that,
through?
and I get terrible mum guilt just over.
Mum guilt, that's a new word. Got mum guilt. Have some mum chocolate. Get some mum fat.
She's just lost a tooth. Yeah, you would just feel it's hard because of being on both levels of being a parent, and also at the time that I had it, I was a child, I was a teenager.
Yeah. So you can kind of relate to the whole, not the autistic aspect, but the social circle.
Yeah, social anxiety.
Not being connected with people as much, having a slightly different outlook because of the schooling situation.
And I was homeschooled from about the 10th grade as it would be.
I don't know what that equates to over there.
In that sense, be honest with you, I think it works out as like year 9, year 10.
I had so many primary schools, I wouldn't know. Just tell us your age.
I left school, as it were, and not attending a school when I was about 13, 14.
Okay.
And I was really lucky to be homeschooled by a lovely lady. And she only literally lived around the corner to me. And she was a teacher of science. And I loved science, but my school never let me do science from home.
I am so sorry because this is a really important part, okay? Yeah. But I just have to go, science, boom, because of something that Courtney said on the Evil podcast. Carry on, please.
Science, I loved it. And she was really nice to the fact that she'd lend me her science books and random stuff. And her husband worked in a school, and I've got a big Butler sink to this day that he took out of the school lab.
That was from him.
And he dropped it to my front garden. So I could plant it up. He must have been
built like a brick whatnot, because it weighs a ton.
And just so I could put plants in it, and I still haven't seen it's moved from house to house, and I still have it now.
You used to have lavender in it. It was like 9 feet tall.
Yeah, and then my dad cut it down before it moved from house to house.
Yeah, well done, Dad.
But never mind. But now it has other plants in it, so
that shows not just the effects of the potential for the homeschooling, but that also says something to me, who has a slightly different past. You said about your dad, and he did this, and all the while you were smiling and laughing. This homeschool person, you were smiling, you were happy about. You actually had a good, positive connection with them.
Yeah, I mean, we do silly stuff, and I didn't probably realise at the time as well, in the sense of getting help. Now, there was probably a lot going on in my house around that time with my other siblings as well.
Oh, please, I've met your parents. There was always a lot going
on. But there would be silly things like, you've really got to go out and post this card, you've got to go and post this letter. And now the post box was literally down the end of our road. There's no, problem with that. We lived on a quiet road. I probably wouldn't have even seen anybody from getting from A to B and back again.
Yeah, that's fair.
So there was no social awkwardness. It was just the outside world. So they would give me things like that, and they would be like, take this to that box, you need to go and post this card, they need to get their card, it's their birthday, or I need to pay this bill, I've put it in the post this week.
So even your parents were trying to prompt you.
So even my parents were trying to prompt me
and
saying, no, you need to go and do it, this one's out at work, this one's out at school, you need to go and do this.
Yeah, you're at home, you're not working, this is your responsibility, you're going to do this is
more often than not, it would be a no, it did take a while to get there. And then also with my home education, mine wasn't via my parents, it was from a tutor that came in and taught me, to the point where as I said, she only lived around the corner. But for my educational sense, in that sense, she would say, okay, we're going to go to the library this session. You're going to get in my car and I'm going to drive you to the library and I'm going to drive you home.
Yeah.